Good Friday morning. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone is ready for the weekend, even though I know that for most of us, every day is the weekend, right? But I hope that some people are getting into routine. I hope I found that, when days time it gets mundane, routine is key to keeping sanity. You know what I mean? In my opinion. And real quick, I'm not gonna read the quotes out of the book and stuff like that. That way you gotta keep on rewinding the video if I mispronounce or whatever. You don't hear the quote right. I'm gonna write on the whiteboard over here, like Carl Rove status here. He might be a little proud. Glenn Beck, old Glenn Beck. When Glenn Beck was really at his best. But we have rise above because everybody needs to be rising above all this bullshit and situations. You got faith and plus the time, or a simple arithmetic here, right? Time equals to perfection, right? So perfection is not a destination; it's a journey. Be good to yourself. Learn how to love yourself. And here's the quotes, folks. Right? I'll just bring it up to you like part of this. Right? It is possible to fly without motors, but not without knowledge and skill. Wilbur Wright, he invented, right, the airplane. All empty souls tend to extreme opinion. And we love William Butler Yeats here. I think we're acquainted. I think we can call him Bill here. Bill Butler Yeats. And then we have, I can, therefore I am. That's Simone Weil. Okay? So I hope that gives you some hope and inspiration there, folks. Right? There you go. Okay? There. And you can pause that if you have to and see the quotes, right? Right. We all know that. So real quick, this morning, let me talk to you real quick because this is kind of an interesting story. Kind of funny, but kind of people need to take note because, I don't know if you guys know this, but we're part of the DARE program here. The DARE to resist drugs and abuse and violence and all that. You know what I mean? So let's just take note of that really quick. All right? And the New York reported this yesterday, right? And it's man injects magic mushrooms into the blood, resulting in organ failure. Crazy, right? A man took to medical experimentation on himself when he decided to mainline magic mushrooms in order to kick his opiate use, which probably CBD or some other, like Suboxone, sometimes people use, or methadone, some people use, or just go cold turkey. However, when the fungi started mushrooming in his bloodstream, he almost kicked the bucket. He almost died. The 30-year-old, who should know better, was known to have bipolar disorder type 1, was brought into a Nebraska emergency room recently with reports of vomiting blood, diarrhea, nausea, jaundiced appearance, confusion, and fatigue. Upon arrival, the man spoke incoherently. Tests revealed his liver had been injured by infiltrating fungi and his kidneys were not fully functioning. In other words, he was going into organ failure. The doctors later learned that the man had ceased taking medication for his mental illness, which prompted episodes of mania and depression. Please take your meds, folks. If you are on medication, always talk to your doctor. Be honest to your doctor. Don't lie to your doctor. During one such occasion, he launched a personal investigation into the psilocybin-based therapies, including those speculated as potential treatment for addiction from opioids, as well as anxiety and depression. Touted as the safest of all recreational drugs, shrooms may have seemed like a cure to all. Patient in question, whose case now studies appear in the Journal of Academy of Consultation, Liaison, and Psychiatry. But see, this is why it's always best to have a medical professional supervision when you do this. Not to just be doing this kind of stuff on your own. You know what I mean? So, remember that, folks. Drugs are bad. Drugs are really bad. This guy, he made a medical tea, right? And then just tried to... When even here they tell you not to be doing that. But mushroom magic mushrooms became legal for recreational use in Oregon last year, while Denver, Colorado, and Oakland became the first two cities to legalize the drug. He spent 22 days in the hospital. He recovered they've given him 2 courses of antibiotics and 1 ongoing antifungal treatment. So, I mean, it's good that he's going to be doing better, but hopefully this is a learning experience for everybody. Don't be doing dumb shit. And, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but it seems like, 2 weeks around the curvature of COVID and stuff, it looks like we might have to be going into herd immunity. People were laughed at for that, but it looks like that now is going to have to be the case. Dr. Fauci talked about that a little recently. I heard him on a podcast talking about that. He also said that it doesn't seem like COVID is going to be going away soon, and Moderna CEO has said the same thing. This is the UK Daily Mail. If this will load. Moderna's Incorporated CEO says the novel coronavirus will never disappear and will likely be around forever because it's mutating, and we'll talk about that in a second. During a panel discussion at the J.P. Morgan Healthcare Conference on Wednesday, Stephanie Bancel echoed comments from public health experts who say COVID-19 is likely going to become an epidemic disease, meaning it will always be present in the population but circulating at low rates like we have seen other things in the past, right? SARS-CoV-2 is not going away, according to CNBC. We are going to live with this virus, we think, forever. We'll have to just learn how to deal with it, learn how to live with it. Joe Biden even said something similar. Additionally, he says he believes the firm's coronavirus vaccine will be effective against infection by any of the new variants from the UK, South Africa, or Brazil. Moderna's vaccine was developed in partnership with the National Institutes of Health, which is how she works. Which is why he is the main person speaking on it, right? Right, it all works out. It uses part of the pathogen's genetic code called messenger RNA, or mRNA, to get the body to recognize the coronavirus and attack it from a person as if the person becomes affected. So that's how antibodies work. We all know that. The candidate, called mRNA 1273, works by tricking the body into producing some of the viral proteins, which the immune system can recognize and build a defense against it. I think the question is more medium term as the virus continues evolving over time, he says. That's why they think that it's going to be around forever. But I think that as soon as we get herd immunity, it would be just kind of like the flu or stuff like that. The influenza, people are getting the shots like that every year, right? So it's no big deal. I'm not worried for the short term, but we're watching it very closely because I think we might be moving into a world where we need new strains of vaccine down the road, but not in the short term because they're watching this very closely and they're doing a very good job, it seems. The Times of Israel. South Africa virus's mutation raises questions over vaccine effectiveness. This is as the British coronavirus variant occupies countries' pandemic plans due to its increased transmissibility. Other mutations to the SARS-CoV-2 are provoking concerns among scientists who are scrambling to work out if they will respond to vaccines. In particular, one mutation known as E48K4K, detected initially in South Africa on a subsequent variant in Brazil and Japan, has raised alarm among researchers. Ravi Gupta, a professor of microbiology at the University of Cambridge, said this is a mutation and not the much-covered British variant. This is the most worrying of all. Although research in the new strain is limited, a Brazilian study said that this month looked at the patient who had recovered from COVID only to become reinfected with the new strain. So, something to be careful about, maybe talk to your doctor about. As countries accelerate their vaccine programs, there is concern that the new mutation may render vaccines less effective. And that's why you have Fauci saying still need to social distance, still need to wear a mask, still need to wash your hands, you know what I mean, your face and your ass. So, continue doing so. The Pfizer and Moderna vaccine, for example, use mRNA technology to deliver instructions to the body to produce a harmless coronavirus spike protein, which the immune system then learns to kill in anticipation of the genuine infection, which is how it works. New vaccines? One pre-stint study in December concluded that 2 new variants shows that SARS-CoV-2 has the potential to escape an effective immune response. Researchers studied that what happened to the virus when it was left in contact with plasma taken from a patient who had recovered. Within 3 months, the virus had taken several mutations, including E48K4. The authors suggested that vaccines and antibodies are able to control emerging variants should be developed, and they will be doing so. Even if you were lower the efficiency, there would be still to be some neutralization of the virus. Vincent Enoff from Paris's Pasteur Institute. To be on the safe side, Gupta advocated an accelerated vaccine program, bestowing as much immunity as current vaccines can deliver as fast as possible all over the world. It's my iPad's a little slow right now. UK to ban travelers from South America because of the new COVID strain. The UK will closed its borders to travelers from South America and Portugal on Friday as concerns grow over a new COVID variant that researchers believe emerged in the Brazilian Amazon, a region that has struggled to cope with the disease. Probably because the variant, which shares similarities with the highly infectious type identified in Britain and South Africa, was reported in Japan earlier this month among a group of travelers who had recently returned from the Amazon, and was also responsible for a case of reinfection in the vast Brazilian states of the Amazonians. Researchers said the UK Department for Transport said Tuesday it would refuse entry from early Friday to anyone who had traveled from or through South America and Portugal in the past 10 days. The ban also includes Panama, Portuguese-speaking African nation Cape Verde. The decision to ban travel from these destinations followed the discovery of a new corona variant, at first identified in Brazil, that may have spread to countries with strong travel links to Brazil. Infectious disease specialists in the Amazon have long feared that the hard-hit region could become a breeding ground for mutations of the virus as the local health system verges on collapse. Governor Wilson Lima of the Amazon is the biggest Brazilian state in the Amazon and home to the state capital, Manaus, said Tuesday the region's hospitals were running out of oxygen as the state faces its worst crisis so far since the beginning of the pandemic. We're in a war-like situation, Governor Lima said, explaining that some patients were being transferred to other states outside the Amazon for treatment. Were often considered to be the lungs of the world, but today it's our people that need oxygen. The situation has become so crucial that Governor Lima has been in talks with Venezuela about acquiring oxygen from Brazil's crisis-hit northern neighbor. Some residents in the city, home to 2.2 million told Brazilian News that Network Global that they had restored to buying their own oxygen cylinders in a desperate bid to save dying relatives. So those must be the people like on ventilators and stuff like that, you know. Or people with asthma or some other kind of underlying health cause like that, so that they would need that kind of beneficial support, is my opinion. They're bracing for more new strains coming this year. And we're going to go into a little funny, little weird kind of story right here from the Associated Press. Australia to kill a pigeon that crossed Pacific from Oregon. In Canberra, Australia, a racing pigeon has survived an extraordinary 13,000 kilometer, which is 8,000 miles in American, Pacific Ocean crossing from the United States to find a new home in Australia, the Down Under. Now authorities consider the bird a quarantine risk and plan to kill it. Kevin Celia Bird said Thursday he discovered the exhausted bird that arrived in his Melbourne backyard the day after Christmas, December 26th, had disappeared from a race in the U.S. state of Oregon on October 29th. That's a long flight, buddy. Experts suspected the pigeon that Cecilia Bird has named Joe after the U.S. president-elect hitched a ride on a cargo ship to cross the Pacific, but maybe he flew his little birdies there. Who knows? Maybe they should ask him. They say if it's from America, they're concerned about bird diseases. They wanted to know if I could help them out. To be honest, I can't catch it. I can't get within 500 millimeters, which or 20 inches in American, of it, and then it moves because it's a pigeon. It's afraid of its own shadow, I bet. He said quarantine authorities were now considering contacting a professional bird catcher. The Agriculture Department, which is responsible for biosecurity, said that the pigeon was not permitted to remain in Australia because it could compromise Australia's food security and our world's bird populations. It poses a direct biosecurity risk to Australia's bird life and our poultry industry, a department statement said. In 2015, the government threatened to euthanize 2 Yorkshire Terriers, Pistol and Boo, after they were smuggled into the country by Hollywood star Johnny Depp and his ex-wife, Amber Heard. I remember that story, right? Don't go to Australia. They don't play around, right? And even their animals will kick your ass, like those little kangaroos. We've seen the stories about that, remember? It's right that better. They're faced with a 50-hour deadline to leave Australia. The dogs made it out in a chartered jet. Pigeons are an unusual sight in Celia Bird's backyard in suburban Ulster, where Australians' native doves are far more common. Morning doves are pretty cool. They mate for life, if y'all don't know that. It's rocked up at our place on Boxing Day. I've got a fountain in the backyard and was having a drink and a wash. He was pretty emaciated, but just sick and bony. So I crushed up a dry biscuit and left it out there for him. The next day he rocked back up to our water feature, so I wandered out to have him because he was fairly weak and he didn't seem that afraid of me, and I saw him had a blue band on his leg. Obviously he belonged to someone, so I managed to catch him. He has no interest in birds, apart from my last name. He said he can no longer catch the pigeon with his bare hands since it regained its strength. And it's kind of a funny story. Well, it sounds harsh to the normal person that they'd hear that go, this is cruel and everything else. I think you'd find that AQIS and those sort of people who would give their wholehearted support to the idea referring to the quarantine service. It is claimed to the greatest long-distance flight record by a pigeon is one that started the IRS in France and ended in Saigon, Vietnam back in 1931, according to the Pigeonpedia. The distance was 11,600 kilometers, 7,200 miles, and took 24 days. There are some known long-distance flights, but whether they are offset performed by marathon runners of the pigeon world or they are feats that could be achieved by the average pigeon is not known. I bet you didn't know there was different pigeons. Did you now? Well, have a good weekend, both. I'll try and come at you with another good video today. All right, love you guys. Remember, spread peace, love, and harmony. Not love, not hate, and disdain and divisiveness. We don't do that around here. We're trying to heal and be better, right? Not destroy and be worse, right? Get better, not bitter. Love you.